Hello everyone and welcome back to Max Programming, and in today's video this is what we are going to build. So in the previous video we discussed about the Chrome file system access API, and if you remember we did not use any IntelliSense, we did not have any, right? So in this video we are going to build this simple project where you can select a text file or an image file or even a video file, and you can even select that. So right over here you can click on any three of these buttons. So let's say select text file for now, and so we can select any text file, you can say any .txt document for this one. So let's click on open on this one, and as you can see we get the file name, which is text.txt of course, and we've got all the contents right over here. And let's now select an image file. So I'll select an image file, and as you can see we've got this image right over here. So let's open that up, and as you can see we got the image. Plus we can also select a video file. So let's just select this video file, and boom, it's also like, you know, you can even do that. And I'm just gonna mute this and let's play this. So it also works when we play it, right? And this is how everything works. We are going to build it from scratch, but the styling is what we are not going to get focus on as of now, because you know it will get too long if we also work on styling. So right over here I have this GitHub repository for this project. What you can do is you can just go ahead and click on the styles.css, and you can get everything, like, you know, just copy and paste everything in the style.css file. Now let's see how we can work on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the terminal, and so I am in my desired directory. We are going to use a tool called Vite. Now if you don't know what is Vite, don't worry. Vite is simply a bundler, or you can say a really nice tool which can help you get IntelliSense in almost any technology. So like, we are going to create a static app with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but we can use npm packages to get IntelliSense and all that stuff. So you can create a Vite app very easily. So you can say npm init at vite.js/app, and then you can say the name, which is Chrome FS app, and I'm going to hit enter, and then you will get a prompt where you can select the technology you want to use. So you can just select any one of these. So I'm going to select vanilla because this is a vanilla project, right? You can also select TypeScript if you want, but we are going to go with JavaScript. And so it's as simple as that. You can just cd into Chrome FS app, and you can run npm install, and then to run the server you can run npm run dev. So we got all of our dependencies installed correctly, and if I ls into this folder, as you can see we've got a lot of stuff. We've got node modules, we've got git ignore, which is important also if you are pushing it to a GitHub repository. We've got the favicon, index.html, main.js, packaged and package log, json, and styles.css also. So now let's say npm run dev, and if we hit that, it's going to start a local development server, which is hot reload again. So this is another benefit of Vite. So I can just control click this to open this up, and bam, here we go. So we got localhost 3000 as our hello Vite, and then we got a simple link to documentation. So let's close this one out, and let's open this up in our code editor. So I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, so I can just say code dot to open that up in Visual Studio Code, and here it is. So the first thing we want to do is get the styles done. Okay, so I have the styles open up, as you can see. So we have the styles, so I'm just going to copy all of these. So let me just go from the bottom to the top. So we can copy all of these and we can replace them like so. Next up, we can save this file, and let's go to index.html, and we have nothing right over here. Second thing we want to do is let's change the title, and let's say it's going to be file pickers with capital P, and then mainly in the main.js is where the style CSS is linked, but we don't want to do that. We can just link right over here. So link we can link the CSS file right over here for performance reasons, because JavaScript loads after the document. So we can just say it's going to be .style.css, and then we can just remove this import, of course, and we can also remove every code, so that doesn't matter because we are going to remove this whole div. And now let's add the HTML. So if you take a look, if we go back and if we go to index.html, also we are going to copy the HTML, so don't worry about that. I will explain you how it is. So we'll just copy everything inside of the body, so basically the main tag, and we can paste that. So let me explain what is going on. First of all, we have a main tag, then we have a div with a class of pickers, then we have a button with ID of text select, which this ID is what we are going to use to select it. Okay, so this is the button which has this icon. So this is an icon, so you don't need to worry about why is this long HTML SVG and all that. So we can just collapse all of these SVGs, don't worry about those. And we have got the select text file, select image file, and select video file. Then after the pickers div, we have the div called content, div class content, which has an h2 with the file name with the ID of file name. So inside of this h2 we'll store the file name, and inside of this p element we'll store the file content. So basically if we select a text file, this p tag will help, like we're just going to put the inner HTML, inner text of all of our text file inside of this p tag. Then we have this img tag, which is with an ID of image content, so we are going to change the source, and the same for the video with the ID of vid content. Okay, one more important thing that I want to tell you is in the styles.css we are setting the video display none, because if we set the controls to on, okay, on the video, the controls like 3 dots and then plus and then all that stuff, the video element will still show up, so it will not hide. To hide that we use display none. Okay, so that's important, one thing you need to know. That's it for our HTML and CSS hopefully, and let's close it out. Now we are going to work only with JavaScript, but we are not going to work with one file. So let's install a dependency. Okay, not really a dependency but a dev dependency instead. So what is this? Well, we are going to use the file system access API, so for that sake we are going to install some one dependency which basically gives us IntelliSense in our code editor. So let me just type that out. So right over here, npm I, which means install, -d, which means it's going to be a dev dependency, so we don't need on production. And then you can just add this name, which is at types/wicg file system access. So these are the types for these are the type definitions for file system access API, and these will give you IntelliSense in your code editor. So it's really nice. Okay, so you can hit enter, because in the previous video if you saw, it was really hard to type, you didn't get any IntelliSense, that's why. So once all of it is done, it will magically provide you the IntelliSense. Just take a look. So previously what we had is we used window.open file picker, right? Show open file picker. So if I just say window.show open, as you can see we got it. And even inside of this function, what we want to pass in the options, right? So open file picker options and all these things. So what will be the options? Options is an object, of course, and then we hit control space, we get all of these IntelliSense, the types and multiple and all that. So it's a really nice package, which is like it's very nice. So next up, let's create some files. So I'm going to create a new folder called JS, in which we'll store all the JavaScript files. And the first file we are going to create is getText.js, and we are going to keep all of these empty as of now. So let's create a new file, and let's say getImage.js, and let's say getVideo.js again, and the last one is going to be constants.js. And so this file will do what they are named. So get image will get the image and return it to you, get video will get the video and return it to you, and all that stuff. And constants is going to store the constants. So let's start with the HTML. First of all, let's select all of the elements. So what do we want to select? We want to select the text select, image select, and video select. These are the buttons. Okay, so first of all of the buttons, all 3 buttons. Then we've got these tags for this, so the image tag, the video tag, and the paragraph tag, and then finally the h2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say const, we've got text select is going to be equal to document dot get element by id, and it's the same thing, text select. And we're going to do the same thing for the next 2 buttons. So I'm just going to copy and paste those, we don't want to waste time, so we can just paste these. So image select and video select. Then we can say const file content tag. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just naming it file content tag to understand that it's a tag, right, for file content. So we can just say the id for the paragraph is file content. Remember, this is the paragraph where all the file content will get stored. Then for the image and video, I'm just going to paste them. So as you can see, we got the image content and video content. And finally we got the file name tag, so I'm just going to paste that in. So file name tag is basically the h2 where the file name is stored. So now what we can do is we can just add the event listeners for text select, image select, and video select. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll say text select dot on click. Okay, that's what you can do. And then we can set it to an arrow function. Now what we can do is we can just say we can just do what we did before. So we can mark this function as async, okay, asynchronous function. Then we can say const and then file handle, which we got returned from, and then we can await the show open file picker. Okay, and then you can also pass in the options. Now one thing to note is that we are not going to put everything inside of this big function, right? We are not going to do that. We are going to separate our code in different files. So let me explain how. This is not what we are going to put here. We are going to basically say const and we get an object back. Okay, so that's what we are going to destructure. So if you don't know what is restructuring, I have a video on it. And then we can set it to await get text file. Now this function does not exist right now. We are going to create this function in our get text file. Okay, I mean get text.js file. So what is going to return to us? Well, it's going to return to us the contents and the file object. So if you remember, the file object was contained a lot of data for the file, like the name and all that stuff. So let's go to our get text.js file, and right over here we can say export const get text file. Oops, we can just set that to an arrow function, and not really a simple arrow function but an asynchronous arrow function, because remember, we are awaiting this get text file. So we are marking this as async. So if we mark this as async, that's the only time we can await it, right? So we got that, and now what you can do is you can just import this function. Now we exported it, right? So we can just import that. So let me import it. I can just say import something from ./js/get text. So we can import get text file. Cool. Now this function will what will be inside of this function will simply do what it says. So it will get the text file. So we can say const file handle. Again, the same thing in that we did in the previous video. It's going to await the show open file picker. Now show open file picker is also an asynchronous function, that's why we are awaiting that. So waiting for that to finish, and you can pass in the options, which we are going to do a bit later. Then we get the file, so we can just say const file is equal to await again file handle dot get file. As you can see, you get this IntelliSense, which you did not get in a normal HTML CSS JS project, right? So you can just invoke get file. Then we got the contents. Okay, this is the same thing we did in the previous video. So we can await file.text. Now right over here, as you can see, we get the contents and file in an object. We destructure those, so we have to return those, right? So we can just say return an object, and we can just say contents and file inside of that object. That's it. That's our whole get text file function. So let's save this, and right over here we are using it. So let's just say console.log the contents and also the file, of course. Okay, because the both of the things that we get. So hit save, and as I told, it automatically refreshes our page. So let's refresh it. Actually, we haven't started the server, so let's just say npm run dev, and then when you get back, as you can see, it's up and running. So we can select a text file, image file, and video file. These two buttons don't work right now because we haven't set the event handlers, but this one works. So let's click that, and really nice. But the thing is, we get all files right over here. So you know, the image, text, and video, everything comes up right over here, but we want only the text. We are going to pass in the options for that later on, but for now what you can do is you can just select the text, and let's get to the console because we console logged it. So console, and you get this whole contents and also the file object right over here. Hopefully you can see it. I don't think you can because of my webcam, but here it is. Here's how it looks like. So we get the contents and the file object, and from the file object we can use the name of the file, which is text.txt. okay, so that's about it. So we got the select text file, get text file function up and running. Now let's work on some options. So if you know, inside of this show file picker options, we've got the options which is of this type, option open file picker options. So basically what you can do is, if you remember, we created this constants.js file. Inside of this file we can create any constant file which we want to use. Okay, so we don't want to put all of the options right over here. It will mess the code up. We want to make the code cleaner. So right over here I can just say export const, and also with this you understand how to work with multiple files, because you know it makes your work more efficient. Instead it will be harder to manage every piece of code. Okay, if you separate it in files, it will be nicer. So if we can export const a text file options, so you can name it anything you want. I'm naming it text file options. This will be set to an object. Now here's a cool tip. What you can do is you can just add this comment up here, and basically this is a JS doc comment. What this does is you can just say add type, and then inside of the curly braces you pass in the type. So if we hover over this, as you can see, we got the type open file picker options. So what this will do is it will allow you to have IntelliSense on this object. So now if I hover over this const text file options is of this open file picker options type. So that's how we type a variable in a JavaScript file. So if you're not familiar with TypeScript, or if you are familiar with TypeScript, you will love this, I guess. But this is a simple way to get IntelliSense. Okay, I'm not doing any type checking. This is a simple way to get IntelliSense. So now if I press Control space, as you can see, we got IntelliSense, you know, multiple types and all that. If I did not add this, then if I hit Control space, we don't get any IntelliSense, you know, everything is something else. So let's add that back. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add the types. Okay, let me just, okay, so I can just say types is going to be an array. So that's how you do it. Types is going to be an array with each and every object. So I can say description on this one, and description will be text files. You can have any description. So description is what shows on the all files option right there, down there. I'll show it to you. So we can say text files as the description, and Then we can say accept will be an object, and this object will say text slash plain, and then an array with the extension, so dot txt. Okay, so what this is doing right over here, so types is an array. You can specify any object, so you can create a new object, you can add description if you want to, it's not important. You can add accept, which is an object, and then you can pass in the MIME type, and then this this array of extensions. So that's how you do it. So basically this description shows, as I told, in the bottom right corner. In the accept object you can pass in multiple MIME types, so this text slash plain, you can add images, you can add videos, we are going to see that. And inside of here you can this contains an array, so this will be an array of extensions, so I can just add another extension. Okay, I want the PNG file, which is not valid actually, because text slash plain is going to be txt only. It can be other format also. So if you want a JavaScript file, you can add text slash JavaScript, and then it's going to be an array of .js file, and you can also get the .jsx file if you want. That's your choice. And if you want any file, text slash anything, you know, any text file, so you can just add star. So that's how you do it, and you can pass in all the extensions if you want, but we are going to keep it simple, so text slash plain. So this is basically an object with the options which we are exporting right over here. So remember this export keyword, okay, right over here, export and export. Now we can add this right in here. So let's just import this. So I'm going to say import something from dot slash constants. Remember this is the file, and then we exported this text file option. So let's import that, and let's just copy and paste this right over here. Hit save, and let's get back to the web browser. Now what you'll see is, let me just click on this, and as you can see we got this simple select text files text right over here. As you can see, before we got this all files, but now we got text files as the description. Then you've got the text. Okay, we also had the image, we also had the video beforehand, but now we also we only have this text file, so it only shows us the text file. And if I click that, it just logs to the console. Now let's get to the main work. Okay, let's remove this console log. We don't just want to get all of this, we also want to put it on the web page. So how can we do that? Well, this is the thing, file content tag. So we can just say file content tag dot inner text is going to be equal to contents, because that is the file contents in the end, right? And the next thing is the title of the file. So file name tag, as you can see, this one. So we can also add that. So file name tag dot inner text is going to be equal to a template string. So we can just say file name and then put a colon, and then we can add template strings. This is ES6 JavaScript. If you don't understand it, basically this is a string, and then you can embed many things inside of this string. So I can just say file, which is the file object that we get from get text file dot name. Also you got IntelliSense right over here. So you can see this is type file, and then you get this IntelliSense. All right, everything is done. Hit save, and let's see the magic happen. So I'll just say select text file, and I'll open this text file, and dang it, as you can see we got the file name as text.txt and got all of this stuff. Now I guess you know what is the main process of working with it. So let's work on the image and the video very quickly. So it will be very short, I mean not really short, but the process is a bit different, but it will be very easy. So now let's say image content tag, or not really image content tag, it's going to be image select dot on click, same as the text, and then it's going to be async also. So we are going to keep the format of all these functions same, so it will be the same thing right over here, but the function will be different. So let's copy this and paste this, as we are not going to use get text file, we are going to use get image file. This is what we are going to create. So we imported this from get text, right? So let's close, not really close, but let's keep it open, and let's open get image. And so let's also duplicate this with alt shift down, and let's say it's going to be get image file. So I'll just say get image, and I use Control D to change both of these things. Now let's go inside of get text and let's copy everything and let's paste everything, and let's say this is going to be get image file. Really nice. Now here's a twist. These are the text file options, right? We don't want the text file options, we want the image file options instead. So let me go to constants and let's create a new object. So let me just copy and paste the previous one like this, and we can name it image file options. So this is going to be image files, okay, simple. And the MIME type, so the types, okay, what we are going to set the types, so that the types will be image slash jpeg, first one. So the extension will be .jpg and the next extension will be .jpeg. So these are the two extensions we are going to accept. Secondly, we can add image slash png, and we can add the array again. So this will be .png. Oops, png. Next up, we can add image slash svg plus xml. This is the MIME type. You can just Google the MIME type if you don't know what is the MIME type for .svg file or .webp file, .png, jpg and all that. So Google is your best friend. So .svg, and finally lastly we got image slash webp, and that is .webp. So hopefully until now you understand what is going on, right? And let's rename this to image file options, and now inside of here I can just get this and get this, and I can say image file options. Really nice. The only thing we want to change now is this contents thing. So this is not going to be the text function now, because it's an image, right? We don't want to convert it to a text, we want to convert it to an array buffer. It's not the process you really need to understand, but it's worth learning, because converting an array buffer to a data URL is really helpful. So let's remove this line and let's say const array buffer, which is what we are going to name it, array buffer, is going to be equal to file dot array buffer, and we can return array buffer. Cool, that's it. Okay, we used the array buffer function instead of the text function. Now what you can do is you can just go to main.js again. So you don't need contents now, because content is not returned. Okay, what returned is array buffer. So we cannot do something like .inner text is equal to contents and all that in this image file. What you have to do is you have to create a URL. So you have to kind of upload this image on your own website. You can host it, but it's not really hosting. Okay, it's creating a URL for the image, because if we take a look at the HTML file, of course, if I see the image file, it needs a source, it needs an src. So src should be any URL, local or anything. So we can create a data URL, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So there is a very simple way to create a data URL from our file, and let's see how we can do that. The first step is to not get the array buffer. Like we did this file.array buffer, but we don't need to do that, because we are not going to use this anyways. So let's remove this. And secondly, we get a blob, which is file. Okay, file is of type file right over here, as you can see, but it's also a blob. So we can create a data URL. So I can just say create data URL, or instead of that, what you can do is you can just create a function in constant. So let's just go ahead and do that. So I'll say const create data URL, Okay, this is what we are going to use inside get image. So now what I can do is I can just return the file from the get image file function, and then we can just say const create data URL is going to be an arrow function, of course, and we're going to get the file, or instead let's just say blob, because that's the nicer name for this. And then you can also type it. So if you want IntelliSense, you can just use JS doc comments like this. You can say add param, and then you can pass in the type and then the name of your parameter, so it will give it the type, but it's not necessary for this video. So we can just export this also because it's important. We are going to use it in a different file, right? So export const create data URL. Now blob will be basically of type blob, right? So what you can do is you can just say const URL creator is going to be equal to window dot URL, or it's going to be window dot webkit URL. So basically this is for cross browser support. Okay, if one browser does not support it, then other will. Eventually we would need it, because we would not need it because Chrome supports the file system access API only. So Chrome and all Chromium based browsers. So you got the URL creator, right? And then you can just say const media URL, or not data URL, media URL, you can name it anything you want, is equal to URL creator dot create object URL, and then pass in the blob. You can pass in anything you want, and it will create a URL for that. And then finally you can return the media URL. That's it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go to our main.js. We don't need array buffer now because we don't use it anyways. And then you can just say if we go back to our constants.js, this is the create data URL function. So I'll say const img URL is going to be create data URL. So as you can see, we can automatically import it like so. And then the blob is file. As I told, this is the blob that we need to pass in inside this function. Finally we can say img content tag dot src is going to be img URL. So this is the final URL. This is the string URL that we want to set. Hit save, and now this is going to work. So cross our fingers and select this image file. Works. So we got the URL, and even if you do this, like right click and open image in new tab, this is the URL blob colon, and then you've got this data URL. So that's how you do this, and we are going to do the same thing for the video. Okay, this is going to be very easy. Let's get back to our code editor, and as you can see, everything is very simple until now. So our video file is going to be get video is going to be the same, pretty much the same as this one. So let's just copy all this. Let's open up the get video.js file and just paste everything. So we are going to export get video file. This will be an asynchronous function, and then you do the same thing, but instead of image file options, we are going to create a video file options. So let's go to constants, and now I'm not going to type it out right now, so let me just copy and paste this and I'll explain it to you. So as you can see, we got export const video file options. It has a description of video files, and then it accepts the mp4 and mkv. That's it. Okay, and you can also add webm and all that. So let's add webm. If you're wondering how I duplicated it, I use alt shift down. Okay, that's how you do that. Hit save, and let's get let's just say video file options, and then you get file from get file, and then you return the file. That's what we did in the image. So let's close this, let's close that, and now finally let's say vid select dot on click is going to be equal to an asynchronous function like this, and then we can get the file again. So const something is equal to await get image file, or get video file instead. Oops, what's wrong? Maybe we can check the get video again. Let's actually import this. So I can just say it's going to be get video file, cool, we can just say get video file now, and we don't need anything, and then we get the file back. Okay, you can also return, let's just not return a whole object and then file inside of that. Let's return it like this, so it looks cleaner. Okay, you get the file, it's simple as that. So you can just control click to go there, and then I can just remove everything like so. Okay, and then let's remove this. And now once you get the file, you can create const vid URL is going to be await, not await, but it's going to be the same thing, create data URL, and then pass in the file inside of that. And then I can just say vid content tag.src is going to be the vid URL. Finally, let's hope it works. So select video file, and let's select this video file, and nothing works. So it didn't work because the video file is the video tag is display none. That was one of our faults. Okay, so I showed you before in the style.css we set the video display to none, and it's important also. We are going to keep it that way, but let's now it works. Okay, if I show it to you, if we go back and let's just go ahead and go to elements, as you can see in this video we got the source, and I can even go to this blob, and you can see the video, it works. Okay, it works exactly fine, but it's that this video is display none. So what we can do is, so let me show you a demo that what the problem is right now. So if I say select text file, and let's select text file like this. Okay, if I say select image file, and then we select an image file, as you can see we got the image and the text, both of these, and the file name is text.txt. That's not how we want it to be. We want only one thing to appear at a time. So how can we fix this? That's why I kept the video display to none. Now let's do this. First of all, we can just create a function. So I'll say const hide video player. Hide video player is going to be equal to an arrow function, and then we say if vid content tag dot get attribute. So we say get attribute. This is basically to get the content of an attribute. So source, if this is equal to an empty string. Now if you're wondering why didn't we do .src, well, we didn't do that because it's not going to work. Because if you take a look in the elements, the src does not have this equals and all that, it's just like this unknown. So it works only by this thing. So you can just set the video content tag dot style dot display is gonna be none. So this basically means if the source attribute is an empty string, so if there is no source, it's going to be none. Else we can say vid content tag dot style dot display is going to be block, and then we can just call this function right over here. So hide video player, and then we can call it in every iteration, like here, and then here, and finally here also. Hit save, and now it's going to work. So I'm going to select a video file, this one. It works. Okay, you got all of this stuff. You got this cool little 5-second video, which you can basically, like, it can be any, you can select any video, it doesn't matter. And now let's work on the multiple things that we get the text, we get the image, we get the video and all that. So let's work on that, and that function is also pretty simple. So I'm going to create some variables. So let me just say let, and let me just put that on a new line. So I'll create 3 booleans. So basically I created is txt open, is image open, and is video open, all of these to false. So these are 3 boolean variables which will represent if the text file is open, if the image file is open, and if the video file is open. Then what we can do is we can create a function. So const remove other elements, it will be an arrow function again, and right over here we can check if not is image open. Okay, and let's say if not is text open, what we can do is we can just say file content tag dot inner text is equal to an empty string. Basically we are resetting it to an empty string if the is text open is false. Okay, not this as you can see, this exclamation mark. That's how we do that. Then we add another if not is image open. In this case we can set the image content tag dot, we can just say set attribute, or you can just say source is equal to an empty string. Okay, that's how you do that. You can also use set attribute. Set attribute is a cleaner way of doing it, but it's fine in this video. Finally we can set if not video is video open, we can set the vid content tag dot src is going to be an empty string. Also the vid content tag dot style dot display will be none. Okay, so basically we don't want anything of the related to the video. Then finally we can call this function. So we don't need to call this function like we did hide video player, because we don't want to call this at start. We want to call this every time we get a text file or an image file or something else, right? So first thing we are going to do is we are going to set something. So I'm going to say is text open, is txt open is going to be equal to true, because we select a text file, right? So it's going to be true. And is image open is going to be false, and is video open is going to be false. You remember, you know, it's important to set them to false because eventually they can cause problems, right? And then I can say remove other elements. I can call that function. That's it. Okay, that's it. So let's just copy all of these and let's put that, but in this case this will be false. Is image open will be true, and finally this will be false, of course. And let's just copy this, Control C, and you can just say Control V. Okay, and then finally we can copy this again and then paste this. Yes, we are repeating code, but it's fine for now. We can set this to false, the image also should be false, and then this one will be true. And finally say remove other elements, call that. Hopefully this is everything completed. Also I forgot one thing, this file name tag dot inner text. So let's just put that right over here, like after this. Okay, this one and this one, so that we get the file title right. We did not get it. Everything is done. I can just select a text file. So let's select this text file. You get the file name, and if I now select the image file, everything is replaced. You get the image.png jpg, and then you can also select png, webp, images, and you get the image. If I select a video file, here's the video file, it works. Okay, even if I play this, if I now select the text file, everything works. Now I hope this project helped you learn a lot about JavaScript, mostly JavaScript, and the Chrome file system access API, because this is a very huge project. Like, not a very huge project, but a huge project, because you work with multiple files and then you got into asynchronous operations and all that. I hope this video helped you. Give it a thumbs up if it did. Let me know your questions in the comments below if you have any of those. Okay, don't worry, don't hesitate to ask any. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content, if you want to get notified for more content like this. And let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, if you have any feedback for me. It will be very great to improve myself by you all, because you are the audience. I hope it helped you. If it did, really nice, let me know in the comments. Finally, thanks for watching.